What's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. We're back. No more off-season, no more trade rumors, no more predictions, preseason, none of that. Just hoops. The regular season is here, and it kicked off with two really fun matchups. We got the Lakers versus the Nuggets, a Western Conference Finals rematch on ring night over there in Denver. Meanwhile, in the later game in Golden State, we got them versus the Phoenix Suns, the new look Suns with all these new additions. Unfortunately, no Bradley Beal in this game due to, I think it's a back injury. Hopefully, he'll be back at some point soon, but even still getting to see the new look Suns against the now Chris Paul Warriors, which still feels ridiculous to even say. Really fun night of hoops. I'm going to go ahead and break down these games, the biggest takeaways from them, the narratives, and everything in between, because we've already got some interesting stuff popping up after just one game. Don't want to overreact, but we're definitely going to go ahead and talk about some of the biggest factors in these matchups. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Comment down below your biggest takeaway from these games. Let's get into it. So first up, we had Denver versus the Lakers. This was the first game of the night, so I'm going to go ahead and cover it first, which I think kind of makes sense. It was ring night over there in Denver. It's really fun to watch ring night every single year. Every time I watch it, I get hopeful that at some point I'll see a Thunder one at some point soon, if not hopefully in my lifetime. Fingers crossed that this Thunder core is able to do it eventually, but shout out to the Nuggets, very deserving of this big moment, and the crowd fed off it. The energy in this game was electric, and these two teams, it felt like, fed off it as well. The pace to begin this game was absolutely absurd. For the first quarter or so, these two teams were just having a track meet out there, whether it was a made shot, a missed shot, an offensive board, and they were going for a second chance opportunity. It didn't matter. These two teams were just running back and forth up and down the court, which feels weird for a team like the Lakers, who have Anthony Davis as their best player as a big man. Same thing with the Nuggets with Nikola Jokic. Just kind of strange to watch, but it was really, really fun, and that led to some sloppy basketball, which you're going to see in both these games. You're going to see all throughout the first games for every single team as they try and find the rhythm. The game is incredibly sloppy. There were some really weird turnovers, just some ugly missed shots. Again, that's how the season's always going to begin. But the Nuggets definitely looked like the more polished team pretty much all throughout this game, which they would end up going on to win in kind of blowout fashion. It was close at points in this game, but really, towards the end of the fourth quarter, the Nuggets went ahead and blew this thing wide open. They were also leading pretty big throughout the first half, and it was mainly due to Nikola Jokic, who probably looked at a basketball like 3 times all throughout the offseason, and yet still comes back looking like firmly the best player in the world. In the first game of the season against one of the league's best defensive players in Anthony Davis, he puts up a 29-point, 13-board, 11-assist triple-double to go with a steal and a block while shooting 54.5% from the field, 3 of 5 from deep as well. Jokic was knocking down threes. He's the best player in the world. I don't know what you're supposed to do against him. Again, AD is a lot of people's depoy pick. He was mine because he was one of the best defenders in the world last season, and he's got that reputation. He was playing good defense on Jokic, just sometimes it doesn't matter. Jokic was bodying up against him. He would catch the ball in the perimeter, and because you have to respect that three-point shot so much, he can attack off a closeout, takes great advantage of mismatches. You send a double, he's always going to find the open guy. It's typical Jokic stuff, and he just... Nuggets basketball is amazing to watch, largely in part due to him as that offensive hub and just this anomaly on the court, but also because of guys like Jamal Murray, who a lot of people are thinking could be an all-star for the first time this season. He had an electric game, putting up 21 points, 2 boards, 6 assists. He shot 8 of 13 from the field, 3 of 5 from deep. He was amazing. There were a number of times where it felt like the Nuggets offense was slowing down. They needed a bucket. Jamal Murray is one of the best guys in the league where you can be like, hey, we need a bucket, go get us one. He's like, okay, sure, and just knocks down a ridiculously tough mid-range, a pull-up 3, something like that. Jamal Murray can just get you those opportunities. He can knock down those shots, and that's big for the Nuggets, having a guy that can bail them out like that, whether it's him, it's Nikola Jokic. Contavious Caldwell-Pope was great in kind of, I guess, a revenge game tonight against his former team. He puts up 20 points, knocking down 2 of 3 threes, 66.7% shooting from the field. You had Aaron Gordon, who shot 7 of 11. Great defense, just continuously attacking mismatches. One of the best players in the league, it feels like, at attacking those mismatches. If you switch, if you get a smaller guy on him, he's going to back them down. You can set a double. He's going to see that and immediately go up with a shot and usually knock it in. Just, of course, making those hustle and tangible plays too. It was a bit shaky beyond the top guys. Michael Porter Jr. really struggled from the field, 5 of 13, 2 of 9 from deep. He did grab 12 boards, and I like some of the smaller things he did defensively, communicating, being in the right spot, and the looks they took for the most part were good. There were a number of, wild shots, which you're always going to see from MPJ because he's this near 7-foot shooting type guy. You kind of need him to take those shots if you're the Nuggets. Hopefully he's able to knock down more throughout this season, but it was a rough beginning to his year. It was also rough From some of the bench guys, Christian Braun was really solid, 5 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, only shot 5 times. He was good. He also had this big block on LeBron, some energy plays, typical stuff you see from him all throughout that finals run, in particular for the Nuggets. But beyond him, it was kind of shaky. Reggie Jackson, 3 of 8 from the field. Peyton Watson had some good defensive plays, but offensively was a bit rough. Zeke Naji looked really uncomfortable out there, really bad screening, lost offensively and defensively. And these are all young guys that are trying to find their role in this team. They're trying to fit more into what the Nuggets do. Last season, they were kind of just background pieces, and now they need them to step up. And I think they eventually will. They did each all have some individually solid moments, but they're going to all around need them to be better going forward if they want to still be the powerhouse in the Western Conference, by far the best team, which they looked a part of tonight, but they are going to need some of those depth guys to figure it out, and eventually I think they will. Again, it's only the first game of the season, but yeah, the Nuggets looked all the parts of a dominating force, and it was mainly due to Nikola Jokic, who again is my MVP pick. He's the best player in the world. He went up against, again, Anthony Davis, one of the best defenders in the sport, and it didn't matter. The Lakers also tried putting some smaller defenders on him, which they had some success with. He did struggle to shoot a little bit more in the second half than the first, so the Lakers slowed him, I guess. But it still doesn't matter when you give him a near 30-point triple-double. You've got to stop him a little bit better if you're the Lakers, although I don't know if that's physically possible. Meanwhile, for the Lakers, it was a very roller coaster type of game. Anthony Davis in the first half is dominant. He's aggressive. He's attacking, going straight at Jokic. He's getting right there under the rim where you want AD to operate out of most of, and finishing. Meanwhile, defensively, sure, Jokic was kind of cooking him at times, but he was getting some blocks. He was playing well overall. It's Jokic. There's not much you can do. AD, I thought, played really well in that first half, but in the second half, just completely fell apart, specifically offensively. To me, if they want to go ahead and get back to being a championship type team, they need Anthony Davis to be this consistent offensive force. They need him to be the alpha on this squad. LeBron can't keep doing it forever at like 50 years old at this point. And he looked great out there, by the way. I'll talk about LeBron a little bit. Still doesn't feel like he's lost a step despite being, again, 50,000 years old. But Anthony Davis, they need more from him, because in the second half, AD scored not a single point. He went 0 for 6 from the field, no free throws, no anything, 0 points. You can't have that from a guy who's supposed to be your best player, especially when LeBron James only plays 29 minutes. And in those 29 minutes, LeBron was great. He put up 21 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, not a single turnover, shot 63% from the field. He looked as quick as ever. He was rumbling through the lane. LeBron was amazing in this game. This is exactly what you want to see, that he still has all this in the tank, but you don't want to always have to use it. And after the game, Darvin Ham was asked, why did LeBron only play 29 minutes when AD played 34, Austin Reeves played 31, D'Lo played 36? Why was LeBron kind of limited? And he said that they're probably going to limit his minutes to right around that for a majority of the season. They're probably going to try and keep him between that 28 to 30-ish range. And eventually, they might move out of that if they start losing a bunch of games. But that being the plan seemingly to start the season, they need AD to be better. If LeBron is only playing 29 minutes, AD has to go ahead and be aggressive, take over. He can't disappear in the entire second half of a game like that if they want to be successful. Beyond that, though, the Lakers also suffered from some pretty rough guard play, pretty bad shooting across the board from guys like Gabe Vincent, D'Lo, Austin Reeves, a number of just confusing turnovers, defense, very up and down across the roster, a lot of miscommunications, and you can't have that against a Nuggets team that's as lethal as they are. Again, it is the beginning of the season, so I'm not super worried, but there were some things I didn't love from the Lakers in this game. I did like some things, like Taurean Prince putting up 18 points. Feels like he's going to be a reliable threat from the outside for them. I don't think all their guards are going to struggle to shoot again. I thought Christian Wood was pretty good out there in his 15 minutes, 3 of 4 shooting, 4 boards, 7 points. Didn't have a significant role, but I thought he held his own decently defensively. They had some really ugly lineups out there, which didn't have LeBron or AD. I don't think you can really have that with this team. One of them's got to be out there at all times if possible. So there's some definite issues they have to work out, but it's just the beginning of the season. Primarily, I just need to see more from Anthony Davis for them to be long-term successful. But let's go ahead and move on to the better game of the night, which was Suns versus Warriors. This one felt like it might turn into a blowout in the first half, with the Suns leading by 15 at the break, and then the Warriors did their typical third quarter thing and completely demolished the Suns over those 12 minutes, outscoring them, I think, by 21 points. In the fourth quarter, it was a bunch of ties, lead changes, back and forth big buckets. The Suns went up by 5. The Warriors got a big 3 from Steph in the final moments after it seemed like the game might be out of reach to bring it to 2. All they needed was a stop and a bucket, but instead, the Suns get a big bucket from Nurkic off a pick and roll with Book. They go ahead and take a 4-point lead and finish that one off, winning 108 to 104. It wasn't a pretty win by by any means for Phoenix. They had 19 turnovers, a lot of them just really, really bad turnovers at that. They were very disjointed offensively at moments, defensively, missing a lot of switches, failing to call out guys in transition, guys just leaking behind the defense, leaving really good shooters open at times. It was kind of a mess at moments for the Phoenix Suns, but they did enough to get the win, and eventually I think they'll be lethal. It's just going to take some time for the Suns team with so many moving pieces from last year till now, a new head coach in Frank Vogel, not having Bradley Beal in this game, who is supposed to be a big part of what they do as well, so figuring out who's going to step in those moments too. A lot of stuff going on for the Suns, plus it's just the beginning of the season. Every team's playing ugly at this point, but despite all that and playing on the road against the Warriors team who was really good at home last year, they pulled off the win, and that was mainly due to the play of one guy in particular, and that's Devin Booker. Book was incredible tonight. Right from the get-go, he was aggressive. He had 15 points in the first 7 minutes of this one. In the first half alone, he had 21, 4 and 4 and 80% shooting. You get to the end of the game, Book puts up 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 dimes. Just ridiculous performance from Book to start the season off. They need this from him. They need Book to be this high-level shot maker, which he was hitting some ridiculous shots tonight while being a solid defender, being probably their lead playmaker on most nights. They need all of this and more from Book to go ahead and be successful this season, especially in these games, which there probably will be a number of them throughout the season, where they're without one of Bradley Beal or Kevin Durant, who have both been somewhat injury-prone as of late. So they need Book to carry the load when one of those guys is out. This team just looked dramatically better when Book was out there on the court. He is the engine. He will probably be this team's best player on a majority of nights throughout this season. They need a lot from him, and in this first game at the very least, Book delivered. One of the biggest things for me throughout this game was the playmaking, specifically down the stretch, because the Warriors started sending a lot of doubles at D-Book, and he was doing really well passing out of them. I think the final 3 field goals for this team, including that big Yusuf Nurkic dagger, if you I guess want to call it that, were assisted by Devin Booker. He was diming guys up, whether it was out of the pick and roll, it was getting a double team and passing out of that. There were also just times where he would get double pass it to someone who would then have a defender rotate over, and then they get the assist. The playmaking, just the orchestrating of the offense was really good from Devin Booker tonight. He did have 6 turnovers, but most of those were like losing the ball out of bounds or a traveling violation. There weren't that many that were just bad passes or bad reads. Some of them were just good defense from the Golden State Warriors. For the most part, I thought Devin Booker was really good playmaking, and for a team that doesn't have a traditional point guard like they've had the past few years in Chris Paul, they need Book to be able to do this high-level playmaking on a night-to-night basis. If he can do that while scoring like 30-ish points per game, grabbing some boards, being clutch, and playing good defense like we've seen him do, Book is going to be one of the most complete players in the league this season, and could maybe end up having a sneaky MVP case. I don't know if it's going to happen because he's got Kevin Durant on his team and Bradley Beal, but look out for Devin Booker to probably have the best season of his career just from this first game. I'm ready to say that that's probably going to be the case. Another guy that's very deserving of a shout out for this Suns team tonight was Yusuf Nurkic. Put up 14 points, 14 boards, 3 dimes, a block. He hit a 3. He was great screening as well, which doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but he had some good defensive moments. I liked a lot of what I saw from Nurk. That's the appeal of him. That's part of why they traded Ayton for him, is that playmaking, that screening ability, just seemingly fitting better for this Suns offense. Doesn't need the ball in his hands too much, isn't going to demand many looks, really just make the little plays here and there. And if he can do that and stay healthy, he can be really good for the Suns team this season. I also want to give a big shout out to Josh Okogie. I don't think the Suns win this game without him. 17 points, 5 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 4 offensive rebounds in particular, shot 7 of 9 from the field. Electric energy, the hustle, the defense, just securing loose balls, giving the Suns those second chance opportunities that they needed, knocking down that 3 that he hit, which was really big towards the end of the game. Okogie was great. If he can keep giving them this type of energy and this type of play, he's going to be huge for them. And finally, let's talk Golden State Warriors. The big issue for them in this game was just bricking a lot of threes. 3 of 11 shooting from Clay, 0 of 3 from Wiggins, 0 of 6 from CP3, 4 of 14 from Steph, 0 of 2 from Gary Payton. The only guy who shot 50% or better from deep was Moses Moody, who went 2 of 4. He was great tonight, by the way. Glad he actually got a lot of run, had 3 steals, some big time hustle plays, 11 points. They need a lot from him this season. Looked really good in his first action. But yeah, I thought the Warriors got some good shots that just didn't fall, that typically would for this team. I don't think they're in big trouble or anything. I liked a lot of what I saw from them. Steph had 27 points, 5 boards, played a lot of off-ball alongside Chris Paul. But one big thing that I really liked from the Warriors specifically was in that third quarter run, a decent number of it came with Steph Curry on the bench, and last year's Warriors team really struggled. Anytime Steph went to the bench, they completely fell apart. But Chris Paul being on the court was big for them. He had 9 assists tonight, 2 steals, 14 points, shot really poorly from the field. But in terms of the playmaking, he was huge, getting guys in their spots. Even if he didn't get the assist, just setting up a guy to attack the basket and then dish over to someone else. Just keeping the offense flowing and really orchestrating with Steph Curry off the floor. That's why they brought him in, and he did exactly that in the third quarter run. He had a big steal towards the end of the game with, I think it was 1 minute, 37 seconds left. Didn't end up leading them to a win, but it was a big steal to give them another possession. I thought CP3 played really well in this game. Again, the shooting really wasn't there, but if he can shoot a little bit more efficiently while still doing this playmaking thing and helping to elevate some of the Warriors' other players while Steph's on the bench, that's a big win. Also, the Warriors played amazing defense on KD, who shot 7 of 22 in this game. Great defense from Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Gary Payton II, all playing really physical up on Kevin Durant. They were kind of frustrating him, forcing him into bad shots. They got like a block of him here and there. Just great defense on one of the league's best scorers. Was really impressed with that. Draymond would have also helped with that too. One problem that they had, or I guess a couple problems, a lot of fouling from this team specifically in that first half, and also they got destroyed on the glass, out-rebounded 60-49, and gave the Suns 17 offensive rebounds. This was a problem last year with the lack of size. Kevon Looney is big for them, but if they're looking towards maybe starting Chris Paul more and they really just don't have a great backup big behind Kevon Looney, Dario Saric had some moments, but wasn't great tonight. I still worry about their size quite a bit. You can't have games like this where you're giving up 17 offensive boards and hoping to win consistently against some of the better teams in the West. But anyways, those are my thoughts from these first 2 games of the NBA season. Let me know what your biggest takeaways from opening night were down below in the comments. I appreciate you all watching. Like I said earlier, please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I appreciate you all watching. Good luck to your team in their first game. Unless you're a Bulls fan, because then you're playing the Thunder, and you know me, gotta go ahead and push the Thunder agenda here on the channel. But regardless, appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Everyone, say it back.